Look at any democracy, and you will eventually find a terrifying loophole. If a government is elected by the people with a massive, overwhelming majority, what is stopping them from using that very mandate to legally vote away future elections and erase fundamental rights? A legislature can use entirely legitimate constitutional tools, like the amendment process, to rewrite a free society into an autocracy, effectively dismantling the system from within. It creates a direct collision between ideas we usually think of as the exact same thing, the absolute will of the current voting majority and the permanent rules of the Constitution. Figuring out how to prevent a democracy from committing legal suicide is arguably the hardest test of any constitutional design. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, India hit this exact crisis. The Indian Parliament, wielding a massive mandate, passed a sweeping series of constitutional amendments, the 24th, 25th, and 29th. These laws explicitly declared that the legislature had absolute authority to rewrite any part of the Constitution. Lawmakers argued they needed this unchecked power to push through aggressive social policies, specifically land reforms, without being blocked by property rights. When the state government of Kerala restricted the property holdings of a local Hindu monastery, its head monk, Swami Kesavananda Bharati, challenged it in court. What started as a dispute over a single monastery's land rapidly escalated. It forced the highest court to answer one question: are there any limits to what Parliament can change? The scale of the resulting legal battle matched the stakes. 13 judges, the largest bench in Indian history, assembled to hear arguments for 68 days, ultimately producing a judgment over 700 pages long. The government's position was straightforward. If unelected judges can override the policies of elected representatives, the voting majority is rendered powerless. The petitioners countered with the logical extreme of that view. If the amending power is truly unlimited, a majority could legally dismantle the republic entirely and erase all human rights. Over those 2 months of hearings, the debate over the Kerala monastery faded. This was a battle over whether the Constitution is owned by the current majority or by history. By a 7-6 margin, the court delivered its verdict. Initially, they agreed with the government, ruling Parliament possesses the power to amend the Constitution, including fundamental rights. But then came the limitation. Parliament cannot use that power to destroy the basic structure. You won't find the phrase basic structure written anywhere in the original text. The judges established it as an implied foundation made of core pillars, elements like secularism, a democratic form of government, and judicial review. By separating the literal text of the document from its overarching identity, the ruling gave the legislature permission to renovate the House, while explicitly forbidding them from demolishing the foundation. This timeline shows political majorities moving through time, as public opinion wildly fluctuates. The court relies on a pre-commitment device. Just like these boundary lines, a nation ties its future self to non-negotiable values, ensuring a temporary majority cannot break the democratic system. This approach mirrors a global concept known as defensive constitutionalism. You can see the same logic in international frameworks, like the Eternity Clause in Germany's constitution, which permanently shields human dignity and human rights from amendment. It acts as an insurance policy, protecting the mechanics of democracy from being dismantled by the very tools democracy provides. The doctrine remains an active legal force in modern India. In 2015, Parliament passed an amendment to change how judges are appointed, known as the NJAC. The Supreme Court used this exact doctrine to strike down the amendment in its entirety, ruling that it compromised judicial independence, one of those core foundational pillars. Which brings us back to the vulnerability we started with. We often assume a healthy democracy means giving elected majorities absolute authority to pass whatever laws they want. Kesavananda Bharati proves the opposite. A constitution can only survive over the long term if its core identity remains permanently out of reach of the politicians it governs.